Hello friends and welcome to Figure Study, where once again, to the surprise of everyone, including myself, I'm looking at something that's actually fairly recent. That is the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hellbat suit. This thing was surprisingly difficult to track down. I actually had this on pre-order like 2 months ago on Big Bad Toy Store, and it just took forever for it to actually come in stock. And in that time I was looking all over the place locally to see if I could find it, and nope, never found it, so I'm hoping that this thing will be a little bit easier to track down in the coming months, because it's cool, but it doesn't need to be impossible to find. Anyway, yes, the Hellbat armor. I have some thoughts. To start with, overall, it's a very, very cool thing. The issue that I have with this is the wing cape thing, which I think I'll just launch into that right away. So, when deployed, the wings look cool, and I will show that off in a second, but when it's folded up, not so much. This just sticks out all this way, and it's like hard plastic, so it just kind of blocks things off, and it obstructs things, and it's obnoxious, and I don't like this. Though I will say, I think it's really funny how when the wings are folded up like this, it makes a bat symbol. That's so ridiculous, but I kind of love it. And while we're back here, might as well open these up. So, these just hinge out, and that's basically all they do. They just hinge. And you can kind of adjust them up and down a little bit, but they look cool when they're deployed. Bring this up a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. That does look cool. That creates a very cool and interesting profile, and definitely gives the Hellbat armor, it makes the name make sense. That is cool. But it's very big, and it gets in the way of the shelf, so that is unfortunate. I just wish that there was a better way for these to tuck away, because again, I think this, as it is right now, does look cool, but it's not great for putting it on the shelf this way, so I kind of have to fold them up, but if I fold them up, it doesn't look all that great. So with that unpleasantness out of the way, let us talk about the figure, and the deco on this is incredible. It's based on the comic, I guess, so there's that. I have zero familiarity with the comic, but this thing does look very cool. There's a decent amount of posability in there too, which I'll get into in a minute, but I really like this look. The red accents on a predominantly black suit works really, really well. And I also like how certain elements, like the tips of the boots, the knee pads, the gauntlets, the little spiky back of the handguards here, they're like a kind of a gunmetal-y, like a dark gunmetal-y color rather than just the matte black that the rest of the suit is. It kind of makes it seem like these are metal implements that are actually supposed to look like they're metal. Same goes for the shoulder pauldrons. Color-wise, it's, as I said, it's pretty much the dark gunmetal, black, and red. And the red accents, which are just these nice lines going throughout with a couple of focused spots, like the belt, and of course that extremely noticeable bat symbol on the chest. It's a really, really cool design. I really, really do like this. Oh, and the back of the head is also kind of that gunmetal-y color. The detailing is also great too. It's got these big stonking boots, the metal-y knee pad looking things, and this I think is really funny. Okay, the wings fold up to make a bat symbol, that's goofy, but look at the knee pad shape. Fold this up a little bit so you can see a little better. Look at the shape of that knee pad. It is totally a Batman head silhouette. That is so ridiculous. I love that they did that. And I mean, I think it is more, it's because of the comic, not the figure itself, but I still love how goofy that is, that you've got this extremely imposing and intimidating looking figure that has a few little details when you really look at it that are kind of really silly. Anyway, the legs have some more of that detail in there. Along the back, too, there's some nice detailing, and I also like these little red bits that are kind of I guess, boosters, maybe, which would make sense. It's also cool how the red for the belt carries around all the way back, so it kind of looks like it is actually looped through these sections here. And even these sections here, his underwear has little bat ears that come off the back there, which is just... it's really silly. I love it, but it's really silly. That's some nice detailing on the, what is that, an 8-pack abs there? Possibly a 10-pack if these count as abs. Again, some nice detailing in there. The bat symbol looks like it's a separate piece of red plastic rather than being painted. So it's a little bit brighter than the painted bits around it, but it does stand out very nicely. And I like how it's sort of like this matte design against the more shiny plastic there. The arms are also nicely detailed. These gauntlets look great. I love the detailing and the coloring and the kind of trying to give it a metal look there. The gloves are great. I love these spiked back of the hand details there. And the dramatic clawed gloves, very cool. His left hand is kind of in this slightly open, semi-relaxed position, and the right hand is more of like a closed position, like maybe it's meant to hold something, maybe, I don't know, but it's closer to a fist. And of course you got more of that line work going through the bicep area. Along the back there's also some nice detailing, like a molded spine, more of these little booster looking things, and just like flat plated details, with things getting a little bit more techno-y between the shoulder blades, and these red lines that go from the front to back to front, however you want to look at it, right across the shoulders. It's cool stuff. And finally the head, which is very intimidating, creepy looking Batman helmet thing. And I like it. It's got kind of that standard Batman, this is streamlined, but it's a typical Batman silhouette where it's, you know, the squarish head with the slightly pointed chin and the ears at the top, of course. Much less pronounced than other stuff that he's done, but I like this. And I kind of like, too, how it's this face plate, and you can kind of see there's almost like an armored hood that he probably has on over his head, and then the faceplate just goes on top of that to cap it all off. There's some really, really great detailing on this, and again, it's very imposing looking. Speaking of imposing, let's talk about posing. You like that? So, starting from the bottom, he has a little toe joint, and it's a pretty decent surface area on the toe there too, so it can kind of work for walking poses. Got forward and backward ankle movement, as well as some tilt and rotation. And you can kind of like futz with that in different ways to get different types of articulation out of the ankles. The knees are double jointed and fold back pretty far. And it's not all the way back, but that's still pretty good. The hips are a bit of a, not sticking point for me, but they are a little bit of a disappointment. They can go forward about that far and back about that far normally. If you want to kick forward more, you have to kind of start bringing the leg out. And then you can get it to more of like a 90-degree thing. Same with back, you want to kind of start bringing it out to get it back further. Do splits, which is great, but the thigh swivel is hugely disappointing. Like, look at this. This is the entirety of the range you get with the thigh swivel. That's not great. Really wish that this could swivel back more. And maybe if I went in there and carved this down, that might allow for a little bit more rotation, but that's kind of what you're stuck with. So you kind of just have to work with the ankle rotation in conjunction with the thigh swivels to try and get a little bit more motion out of that. And it's not great. For the midsection, you've got a lower joint that turns left and right, does some up, down, side to side. The upper joint is the same thing, where you've got the left and right turn, the ability to tilt left and right a little bit, and up and down a little bit. So when you do it in conjunction with the lower ab joint, midsection joint, whatever, you can get some pretty decent rotation and tilt out of it. For the arms, the shoulder pauldrons are on ball joints. Pop this out real quick. So you've got the ball joint on the inside of the cup there, and the socket at the top of the shoulder there. So when that goes in, you get a little bit of rotation as well as up and down. So it will get out of the way of the arm when you bring the arm out. And the arm goes out about that far. Actually, if I rotate, okay, I'll just take it off. Getting that out of the way. You can also see there's this cup joint around the shoulder that allows for shifting up and down, forward and backward, just kind of around. It's not a lot of motion, but it is some. And I appreciate that it's there. Then there is bicep swivel, because of course there is. There's a single jointed elbow that bends, I think about 90 degrees. I think that's about right. And then the hands, while there's a lot going on up here, you do get a joint for tilting in and out. It can rotate, and that joint actually rotates at here and here. So if you wanted to, you could rotate it up and then rotate the hand, and that way you get up and down. I like it when you get those options with wrist articulation, because sometimes I want to have him to, be able to do this. Sometimes I want to have him do this. I like being able to do both. Oh, and putting the shoulder pauldrons back on. Typically, you just want to look for this line here because only one side of the pauldron actually has that detail, and that will show you what side it goes on because you want that line facing forward, but otherwise it will also have left and right indicators on the inside there. Now the head is a little bit of a sticking point for me in that it's on a double barbell joint, and the lower one, the lower part that was like stuck in the torso, was so tight I actually did want to go. I went in there with like a couple of dabs of shock oil just to loosen it up, and it's better, but it's still kind of tight and it doesn't get a whole lot of range. Like, this is as far back as it goes. This is as far down as it goes, so that is not a lot. You get a decent amount of tilt, surprisingly. And then the rotation, it does rotate, and it can rotate all the way around. The problem I have with it is due to the shape of everything going on here, this neck is super thick, and you've got this kind of slightly rubbery ring going around the base. When you turn the head, sometimes it wants to, like, snap back. So depending on the angle, you might have to kind of force it a little bit past where you're comfortable going. It still works, and you can still get some really cool poses out of the guy, but it's, it has some limitations, and it's a shame, but it's okay. This thing is cool enough, I'm willing to overlook it. With all of that being said, I did actually take it upon myself to do something a little bit different with this guy. So because I was really disappointed with the wings that he comes with, I took it upon myself to get a custom fabric cape with wires built in for posing. So this I got from a eBay seller by the name of GPS Lot. I will include a link to their eBay page in the video description there so you can check it out. They have a lot of accessories like capes and cloaks and whatnot. All fabric, most of them with posable wires worked into them, and it's really cool. This is kind of like a semi-stretchy polyester, fake leather, pleather, whatever you want to call it, cape, which is actually pretty cool. This is not designed for the Hellbat suit. This is designed for a 1/12 scale Batman figure. Basically anything 1/12 scale. We will cover that in a second. This guy is not 1/12 scale, but it's designed to have more of like a hang to it. So it's a little bit longer than just like down to the, to the ankles of a 6-inch figure. So it's a little bit smaller on this guy than I would probably like, but it still works. And I ended up modding it slightly so that it fit on him. The cape has a hole in it right here to go like over the, the neck of the character and whatnot. I tried plugging it in over the neck here, and it just didn't look quite right. It hung really high up on the torso, and it was just really awkward. So what I ended up doing was I cut a couple of little holes onto the sides here, right about where it would sit on the shoulders. So now you can just feed the little ball joints through those holes that I made in each of the pauldrons. Bring this back here and pop them into their respective sockets. There we go. And with just a little adjustment, now we've got the Hellbat armor with a cape that, again, not quite as long as I'd like, but that's long enough, and I think this looks amazing. It's not as amazing as, the deployed bat wings that this guy comes with, but it's far less cumbersome, and because there's a wire in the cape, you can do things like pull it around and have it, kind of posed around like this. It'll stay where you put it. You can have it, and I had this before. You might have seen, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen this picture. I ended up bending the wires in a way so that it kind of looked like the cape was blowing in the wind, and that is just amazing. I love this. The figure on its own is very cool, but with this, it's so neat. It would be nice if he was a little bit more flexible in some places, don't get me wrong, but it looks really cool just standing there. And speaking of, let's talk about the fact that this guy is not 1/12 scale or 6 inches. Here he is with a standard Transformers Deluxe. It's large, but if that's not enough, Here he's with a proper 6-inch scale figure, Star Wars Black Series Clone Commander Kenobi. And yeah, definitely not 6-inch scale. But considering the fact that he is a gigantic armored beast of a thing, this doesn't necessarily look out of place for me. I kind of consider it like this could be just a really big, imposing Hulkbuster-style exosuit. I don't know. For a little bit more comparison-wise, here he is with Storm Collectibles Street Fighter V Cammy in her battle costume. So that's around where he would scale with a Storm Collectibles figure. Here he is with the Figma Metroid Prime 3 Samus, if you want to see how he scales with Figma, I guess. Here he is with the figure that kicked off all of this nonsense that I've been doing on the channel with non-transforming stuff, Astrobots Apollo. And finally, here he is with the Duck Tank. And that is that. I feel like if I had gotten the Hellbat suit figure, just the figure without like the added cape, I'd still be super into this. I'd still have nitpicks, but you know, it's cool. It is a very, very cool figure all on its own, even without, you know, me kind of doing my own thing with the cape. But with that cape, oh my goodness, it is so cool. And I also have to say, I really like the cape. The wires make it really easy and effortless to pose, and it just stays where you put it. It's really easy to mess around with, get kind of into, you know, a more neutral position or a more dynamic position. It's really cool. And yeah, it's just me repeating myself at this point, but I do think this figure looks amazing. And as I said, with regards to those wings, they look fantastic when they're deployed. They just take up a whole lot of shelf space, and they don't look good when they're folded away. So this works for me, but I can completely understand that it might not work for everybody. In which case, hopefully those giant plastic wings are not a deal breaker. And let's be real, the figure looks amazing even without a cape or wings on. It still works. But that's enough about what I think of the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Hellbat suit. What do you all think of this thing? If this has convinced you to buy it, I am sorry, because as of right now, it's kind of a pain in the butt to track down. But again, I do hope that it becomes a lot easier to find in the near future. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.